It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.
Hey folks, thanks for stopping by my channel again. I'm Bruce, and today we're talking about a two-part mold. I've had this for quite a while. It makes this piece right here, little thing for Star Wars. My two-part molds are there's a couple different ways to do them. This is the one that I like to make that opens like a book. The reason I like to cut them this way, it's not exactly the way a professional would tell you to do it. They would say you should have two separate parts, and that works too. I've done molds like that, and they do work. But I like doing this particular one in a book format because it lines up perfect when it closes. I've gotten about, give or take, 100 out of this mold itself. But unfortunately, this mold is worn out. I'm going to explain to you why later in the video. But anyway, let's get started. I'm going to show you how to replace this mold, make a brand new one, so we can keep cranking out some figures. So this is the mold that I am going to remake. I've got a lot of use out of this mold. It's a two-part. I like to say it opens like a book. But if you can see in here, the edges that touch the resin have gotten all hard. Now I've gotten quite a few pieces out of this, so I'm not quite surprised that it wore out. But yeah, it's all hard. It's not casting correctly. Here is the original, what it's supposed to look like. You see all the detail in there. Now this is an original. This is not the casting I made. Here's the last casting I made, and as you can see, compare the difference here. The details aren't coming out. In fact, it sticks a lot, and it's getting textured right here and there. Underneath it's okay, but it is time to replace this mold, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make the exact same mold using the exact same molding compound. I found this on Amazon. Let me put it here so you can see it closer. I might have mentioned it in the intro. I haven't actually done the intro yet. So you can see it's a Decorbrom, I don't know how to say that, silicone mold making kit, 1:1 ratio. It gives you, it'll make a mold this big because I've used this once before for this. If you've ever seen my other molds, they're either my reusable molding compound or they're the Umu products, which here, just a real quick one. This is an Umu silicone mold. I have no problem with Umu. It works really well. It just seems to be quite expensive. This was about $18 on Amazon, so that's enough to make one mold. An Umu one, last time I figured out the price, was about $25 to make the same size, maybe a little bit more. So that's why I stick with this one. Like I said, I'm not saying it's better than Umu, because it's really not, but it's definitely cheaper. So let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to need is some foam board, and I've already cut these to the sizes I need because when the mold's done, I want it to be roughly this size. So as you can see, that leaves extra around for the bottom. People have asked me, doesn't the silicone molding compound stick to the foam board? A little bit, but not a lot. Like this is an old piece. You can see it's all scratched up, but it's going to work just fine. And then I have some side pieces too. So we're going to basically build a box with the hot glue and the foam board. On the edges, we're going to stick together. Like if you see this one's all raggedy, I'm not worried about that. This edge here, you need it to be as smooth as possible, so when you put it down like that, it's going to make a nice seal. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue this first one on real quick and see if I can try to save time and fast forward through the rest. But the first one I will just do here with us. And I'm just going to take it. I made sure they're both the same length, so I won't go over. First one's the easiest one anyway, but I'm just going to put my hot glue liberally all on the edge. It doesn't have to be super neat. I do have to work quickly though, because this is the low temp hot glue that I've talked about before. The high temp just tends to melt things too much. So here's my first wall. I got it glued to a starting point. Okay, now that I have the first one in there, my original is going to lay like this, because remember, I make all my molds upside down. So here's the first mold. This was the head, so it would be like this, except that's how you make the mold, upside down. If you turn it over, you see the head's there. Here's the two tail pieces that we're going to vent right now. And I want to get this attached to the cardboard now instead of earlier or later, because after I get this attached, that'll tell me where to put the rest of the foam board. And how we're going to do this is I got some plastic straws here. This is just kind of touch and go. I'm going to I'm going to cut this. It's a little too long. I don't want to push it too high up because it's just going to take more molding compound. And then, okay, I'm going to have to do this off camera. I can't really see. So my glue is dry on my straws now, as you can see. Yeah, they're all different lengths. I understand that. But what I want to do is I want this to lay flat this way. So I'm going to take a little bit off these straws. And the way this is made, well, where's the pointer? The way this is made and the way I want it to set into the mold is I want this will be on the bottom. This very tip I want on the bottom too. I'm not going to put a straw there. But that is going to poke through on the top. If it doesn't, I can dig it out a little bit later. These straws and these straws have to be even. I want these two pieces to touch the foam board without a vent. Just to save time in trimming for later. So whenever I fill that up, I'll still have to trim it around this area here and around this area here. But if I stick these both to the bottom of the cardboard or the foam board, we'll be good to go. Now, so what I want to do is I want to cut these, all of these straight away so everything's even. I've given that a few seconds or a minute or two and it's dry. So now what I want to do is I want to apply this to my base. And you got to work quickly on this for this many pieces. Where are we at? We're right there. I want this to sit like that pretty much. So what I want to quickly do is put hot glue on all these points. But I got to do it quickly so it doesn't dry too quickly. Anybody ever else had the problem with their cord on their hot glue gun curling up like that? I hate when it happens. All right. I'll put another stick in there. Always make sure you have enough glue in your glue sticks in there, especially if you're doing something like this. If I run out, then I'm screwed. So, all right, 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Here's point 1. Just put it on there. You don't have to be very neat about this. This is just going to stick to the board. You're not even going to use this part whenever you do the resin. And there goes my glue stick. There it is. 3, 4, and 5 over here. I hate having to work fast on camera because that's whenever you make mistakes. And I'm going to set that down. I've got my head there. Both my tentacles are touching and both my back tentacles are touching. That should work. Looking around. I'll leave that set until it's completely dry. I'll be right back. My glue has dried nice for my master on the foam board. Now we're going to build walls around it. So I have this one piece here. Just going to set it there as a test fit. That's where I want this guy to go. Once again, you got to work quickly. Now, for the third piece of foam board, this is important. This is the one that has to be the correct size. And I've cut it already to the width of the way I want the mold. And it's going to go right here. And as you can see, that's going to send my mold this size, which will completely box it off. I double check, make sure it works. And we're going to glue that in there. And like I said, it's very important to use the small one on your third side, because the fourth side is going to be a little longer. And then you can see I'm gluing that. A little sloppy, I know, but you know what? That's okay. It's not going to hurt the final casting. You got to work quick with this stuff. So I want to put that about a 1/2 inch away from the head. I'm going to stick it in there, and I'm going to hold that till it dries. The last piece is going to go right here, and it can be a little tricky. Now notice how I'm overlapping the edges on some of these. That's why the third piece had to be the right size. That's not going to hurt the casting. It's not going to hurt the mold in any way, shape, or form. It's just going to make sure that it works. But this piece is the one that requires the most glue, because I have to glue down here, all the way across this way, and then in this guy I got to glue this piece. So if you're not quick enough, you can mess it up. But that's okay if you miss a few spots, because I'm going to show you how we're going to seal this after I get this done. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to go ahead and glue this. Wire's still twisted. Frustrating. And I got to hurry to do this. I got to pick my straight edge here on the bottom. And I want to glue here. I want to glue here, here, and this guy over here, not this one. So, wish me luck. Here we go. First I'll do this guy. And then I will quickly do this one. Man, this is so hard to hold this on camera. You might be thinking, hey, you're not putting enough glue on there, and you're right, but we're going to show you what we're going to do for the final step before we pour our silicone. All right, so I got it there. I got to hurry. I got to make sure these are as tight as possible, as close as possible. I got it about a little less than half an inch from the tentacle. I was hoping to be a little further away, but it's too late now. But I think it's still going to work. Now I can still move it just a little bit. All right, we'll do that. I'm going to give it 10 minutes to dry completely, and I'll show you how to seal it up and get ready to pour. And I've let that sit for about 10 minutes, and the hot glue is dry. Now is one of the key parts that's very important. And it's kind of tedious to do. There's two things you can screw up to screw up a mold, and this is the first one. We want to make sure this is all sealed, so no silicone runs just straight through and all over the table. It's happened to me before. Maybe it's happened to you. What I'm going to do is I have my hot glue gun here. Every seam, I'm going to try to get the ones on the inside. I don't know if I can catch this on camera, so I'll just explain it. I want to get this corner with hot glue, and I don't care if it looks good or not. I just want to get this hot glue in that corner seam the whole way up to ensure that it seals. And I know it looks terrible, but there it is. I'm also going to do the outside as a backup seam. Now what can happen is the silicone might get through that first seam. Once it hits the second one, it'll be good. It'll stop. You'll have fringe on your mold, but you can just trim that off. But it's better to be safe than sorry. So get every seam you can. And be generous on the hot glue. Don't be afraid to use too much. On every single seam. If you can get inside your mold, I recommend it. I'm doing the best I can with this one. I can't really get down deep, so I'm relying on my outside seams. My outside seams like this one. I'm trying to get this on camera as much as possible. But I'm not being stingy with this glue. I'm pretty much just using it as like a caulking compound at this point, just to seal it. But it's very important. I need another stick. Well, I got a little bit. Double check, triple check your seams. If you have to go over it twice, 2 or 3 times, that's fine too. Because any little hole, your silicone is just going to run out and you're just wasting your time. And you'll probably make up a few swear words. One more point I want to make is all these corners down here, this corner, any little corner you can find, you want to shove it in there just to make sure, because if it's going to leak, that's the most common place for it to leak, is this corner here. I've gone over some of these 2 and 3 times. I think we're good to go, so we're going to give it a try. Pretty sure I got everything sealed. And now it's time to mix up our silicone and pour our mold. So this is a 1-to-1 ratio mold compound. Like I said in the brand earlier, I couldn't really pronounce it, but it is the cheaper one. So I'm wondering, well, I know it works. I'm just trying to show you guys. It's a 1-to-1. So normally you would weigh it out. These directions say weigh it out. Other directions say, equal parts. So, but it's the same amount in each bottle. And since the size of the mold I know is going to use both bottles, I'm going to go ahead and just dump both bottles in my receptacle here, which in this case is just a regular plastic container. So let's get this emptied out. One thing I don't like about this molding compound, as you can see, it's what this part is. It's not quite white. It's white-ish, and so is the other part. So when you mix it together, it doesn't change color like Umu does. So it's hard to know if you have it mixed correctly. This is going to take a minute. Let me fast forward through pouring. So now both of my bottles are empty. I can remove them and just throw those away. And like I said, I put the part A and part B in there. If you can notice, it's all one color. So it's really hard to tell when it's been mixed thoroughly. So I'm going to mix it carefully like this for quite a while until I'm convinced that it's combined properly. I mean, I'm really going to mix the heck out of this. I'll faster forward through that too. What's also nice about this is this takes 12 hours to cure completely. So I've got plenty of time to mess around. If I need to throw together another master so I don't waste the molding compound, I can do so. If I need to, we'll find out. For right now, I'm just going to mix. The label on this says it's toxic free, odor free, and bubble free. So I'm still in a well ventilated area. It doesn't smell like anything. It really doesn't. But, you know, a lot of this, in this crap, using resin, paints, whatever, glue, all that stuff has fumes. So you want to be in a well ventilated area. Now here's something. Some people have asked me, should I put that in a pressure pot after it's mixed? A pressure pot really wouldn't do any good for this if you're going to try to do that and then pour it. A vacuum chamber, maybe, if you have one available, it would suck some of the bubbles out. But this particular brand, like I said, I've used it before when I made this mold here. And I made this mold the exact same way I'm showing you today. I never had a problem with bubbles. So what I'm going to do is, since this, I believe this is mixed, I'm going around the sides scraping, trying to get every molecule mixed. I'm going to let this sit for about, I don't know, 5-6 minutes. And you'll see that the bubbles will come to the top. I'm going to leave that one in here. I'll fast forward to it, so you're going to see like time lapse or whatever you want to call it for however long I choose to leave it here until the bubbles start showing up. But the bubbles will all come up to the top. And like I said, when I pour this, I've never had a problem. So I believe this is mixed. Let's let this sit for a few minutes. I'll fast forward to it and you can see the bubbles come up. Well, it's been about 10 minutes. I fast forwarded through you. I can see a few bubbles there. They're showing up okay on camera where the reflection is. You can see, maybe you saw them bubbling. But it's really not that bad. It's not that bad at all. So, and I'm looking, yeah, I think we got a good mix here. I don't see any issues. Like I said, I should have mixed this enough. I think I did. Hope I did. We're going to find out. But now it's time to pour our mold. Just very slowly, letting it just caress around the master. I'm also looking for leaks where our hot glue is. Hopefully we don't have any leaks, because I'd rather not deal with that. That makes a hell of a mess. If you do end up having leaks and it spills out all over your table, the best thing to do is just let it go. And then tomorrow, after it cures, you can peel it off your mat. I'm on a silicone mat. I love this mat. This silicone won't stick to it. Resin doesn't stick to it. Getting the very last out. And we are going to have enough, and I don't have any left over. That's like I said, it's been a while since I've made this mold, so I couldn't remember if I had left over last time or not. But no, it seems to be just enough, as long as our seals hold up, because I don't have any more of this. I only ordered one set. Get everything I can out of here. Same with my container. My container, I'm just going to set it aside, and tomorrow, whenever I demold this, that container, it'll be cured in there too, and it'll peel right out. Now I'm looking. I can already see right here, I've got a little leak. And you know what sucks about that? There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. That's why you have to make sure that's that corner I was telling you about too. And you see I make mistakes too. That corner seems to be the only place that's leaking. Now, do I have a solution to fix that? No, I don't. I'm going to try to do something. I'll try something real quick. This is like an oh shit moment. Now, like I always say, I will put my mistakes in here. I'm going to try to, I don't know if it's going to work or not, get some of this out of there. I'm just going to try to flood it with hot glue. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to try to stuff a lot of hot glue down in there. Whether it's going to work or not, I have no clue. But if I stuff it in there, maybe I'll get lucky, who knows. Otherwise, what will happen, all that silicone, rubber, whatever you want to call it, it will leak out overnight all over my mat, and my mold will be useless. I am really saturating that with as much glue as I can shove into there. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to work or not. right now I'm just crossing my fingers. Okay, so it is the next day. A little later in the afternoon than I wanted to get to this, but I did check this morning, and it was hard enough to start messing with. As you can see, I came into a mess. I mean, this is, I already started peeling this off. But it had spilled out over onto my mat, past the cardboard. Like I said, the good thing about these mats is this stuff doesn't stick to it. It comes right off. But, yeah, all from this little hole down here that we tried to plug up. Plugged it up best I could. It did slow the run, but that's where it all came out from. That was the very last foam board we put on. So like I said, you always got to make sure you have those sealed good. If I'd had that sealed good, it wouldn't have been a problem. Now I can tell, I don't know if it's showing up on camera or not, but I can tell that the actual height of the molding compound has dropped by about close to a half an inch. Now, the master itself is still sealed in there, so this one's going to actually work okay. But let's say the level of the thing would have gone down below the master, and you can see your master right here where the highest point is. All you would have to do is get some more molding compound put on top of it and leave it sit overnight again, and that would have fixed it. Or just don't make the mistake I did the first time. Make sure your seals are good. So we're going to tear this apart now. And there's my mold, and this is garbage. So I see I got here, I have my vent holes are here. Got a little paper on that, and we'll take that off. Those are my vent holes. Two tentacles here came out just fine. The hot glue got stuck to the paper, so that's why you're not seeing it, but that's good. I was going to take it off anyway. And this is a pour hole. I just got to dig that out. Yeah, see, this was our pour hole, little piece of straw just to give us a little reservoir there for whenever we fill it. And of course the vent holes right here. Just got to just clear them out of there. I might actually leave them in there so I can cut maybe. Let's try our little pliers here. Because I know how it's put together, I know I can pop these out. And there's one straw. And there's the second one. So now all we have to do is cut it. Now remember the other one. Here's the old mold. Here's the old mold, and here's the new one. Old mold, new mold. And when we cut it, we're going to cut it from this side again. Wait, turn it the right direction. We're going to cut it from this side here where my vent holes are. And when we're all done, it's going to open up like a book, but we're not going to cut the whole way through. That makes sure whenever I close it back up and get it ready to fill, it's always lined up better. You could cut it the whole way through if you want to. It's just easier to do it this way, I feel. I said I was going to make a vent hole here where this tippy top is. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but right here is the top of that little fin he's got. And all I'm going to do is with a super sharp X-Acto knife, brand new blade by the way, I'm just going to pick a piece out of that. I could do that later whenever I can see it better. But first thing we're going to do is about halfway down, starting my book, so to speak, I'm just going to cut it like this. And I know I'm not going to hit the master with this first cut, but that's going to be my guide to start with. First cut. See, it's starting to open like a book. Second cut, I'm going to spread this apart and gently. This is why I want to use a sharp knife. A dull knife doesn't work very good. I want to go in there and I want to find my master. Now I can pretty much see it. Here it is. I can pretty much see it. I just want to touch the edge of it for this part and go across the rest of the way. As you can see, the bottom tentacles are coming out. And that's what I want them to do. Because whenever I open this mold after filling it, I'm going to need them to do that exactly. It'll give me a better casting. Every master's different though. I mean, I've done this one before. That's why I can go a little faster. And you know though, every time I go fast, I get myself in trouble. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to fast forward to this. I'll show as much as I can through fast forward, but I want to get it correct. So that's about the best I'm going to get it, if you can see my fingers here. I can just gently pull this out. This is how we're going to take out the master, or the casting when we do it. Now the head has always been an issue on this figure. And guess what? It came out just nicely. So, I'm good. Mold come out okay. Opens up like a book like I need it to. There's my new hole. Let's pour it. I'm really ready to pour this right now. So I'll get it ready and we'll pour it. I have our mold prepped here, and I have two portions of the white resin portion out ready to mix. I'm going to do something different this time though. I'm going to take a little mica powder. That's this right here on my stick. And I'm going to put that in with my B side before I mix up my resin. Now, I've seen a few people do this before. I'm using a green mica powder. The piece I want to make is green in the first place. I know this mica powder will not get the shade I'm looking, but the reason I want to do this is, A, just to give you a little taste how mica powder works, and B, when it is done, it'll have a green tint to it, and I think it'll come up better on the camera so you can see the details in our project. So I always mix it into the B side first. I just got in that habit. I don't think there's any method or madness to it, but if you mix it while you're mixing both sides at the same time, then it's just waste time. So this way it's already mixed in with my B side. I'll put that in there. And I'll put this guy in there. And then you know what comes next. Mix, mix, mix. That's about 30 seconds. I'll probably fast forward it through it. And then, like you see, I got a straw sticking out of my fill hole here. It just gives me a little bit of reservoir. I just feel it helps. It is a small straw, though, so it's kind of tedious. Let's fill the mold. Should be topping off any second now. There it goes. See how they come up through the vent holes? That's how you know you're done. Now I like to put a little extra in the straw and overfill it. And what that'll do is blow out any air bubbles, hopefully. And leave a little extra in there, and it pushes down. You can see it's coming out more of my vents because, you know, it's higher than the level is. But once it levels out, we'll let that dry for 10 minutes. You see, once again, I have extra resin, but I do have a reservoir here to dump it into. So we can work on building that project. Okay, nothing else to say right now. Give me 10 minutes. Well, it's been about 7.5 minutes, and I wanted to stop it. And before this completely dries, I like to take this extra off where the vent holes are, because obviously it has to go down through when I remove it from the mold. And you can see it's still a little gooey. But I just find it's just easier to disconnect those using my knife. Disconnect those, here's where the straw was, and do it now than later when it's really hard. In fact, it's quite gooey. But it's better to do it now than later. I'll try to remove this straw here. Our straw came right up, throw that away. Peel this piece off. It's still, as you can see, it's still very pliable. It's not dry yet. And this won't hurt my casting as long as I only cut the stuff off the top. That way when I do open it up, these extra pieces from the vent holes will go straight down through without tearing up my mold later. Which I have done that in the past. And it's not fun. All I'm going to do is just go straight across and make sure those pieces will go down through the holes once they're dry. And it's just so much easier to do now than wait till it's completely dry. Because then you have a chance of tearing off too much, and then you can break one of those off and just causes problems. But like I said, this is still very gooey and pliable. So let's give it about 5 more minutes and we should be able to demold that. Okay, I've given another 5 minutes and I think I'm ready to take it out now. This is the first casting from this mold, and sometimes it can give me trouble, sometimes it doesn't. What I'm going to do is push down the vent holes first on this end where we open, just to get them not stuck from the sides. I'm lifting up on the mold a little bit, and I'm pushing until I feel it release. I'm going to do the same on this guy here. Because once you feel them release, then you know it should slide right out. But if for some reason it doesn't release, you might have to mess with it for a little bit to get it to work. Looks like we're going to be okay. So here we go, opening it like a book. Bottom's coming off nice. And you know what? I'm going to play it safe, and actually, I'm just going to cut these vents here. I'll pick them out later. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut those with my knife. It also gives me a chance to see how cured this is. Is it cured enough for me to do this and mess with it? And it's still a little soft, but that's okay because it gives you room to work with it. And then I'm going to get the backs loose. And I'm going to get this tentacle out. It's coming out smoothly. Here's the other one. It come out smoothly. We're doing pretty good so far. And now the head, which is like, that's the one I worry about sometimes. On this particular mold, if I don't wait long enough, and sometimes it gets stuck. Okay, it popped out. Set the mold aside. Look, it's all stretched out of shape, isn't it? Watch what happens. I'm not fast forwarding this either. It'll actually go back into the shape it's supposed to. You can help it a little bit. And it'll cure just fine. It'll be done. Now's a good time to trim off stuff you don't want. Like, it's not supposed to have that hat. It's easier to cut it off now than later and trim the feet here, or well, whatever you want to call them, the back tentacles. I don't know what to call them. So we're just going to go ahead and trim them up a little bit and take the pieces off that don't belong. That's from our vents. And tell you what, to shorten this video, I will get this trimmed a little bit and we'll look at the details and stuff together. All right, we got the side-by-side comparison going on. This is my original, of course, and this is the one that we made. You look at them, they look pretty good. I'm happy with the details that come in. If you can see, like I showed you earlier, you can see these fins a lot better in here. It's got about it's textured, but it's got the texture it's supposed to, like it does on the original. And the fin came out nice. You can see the details in the fin. Here's the underside, little mouth on the bottom. I'm very happy with it. There's one thing I see that isn't quite right, and if you look at these two pieces here and here, this one come out a little thinner. Call that a defect. But I'm okay with that because I don't want any of these products to be mistaken for the real deal. And this is obviously rigid, it won't bend. The original of this particular product is bendy. So any collector that happens to want to buy one of these or display it in one of their pieces can't pass it off as an original, which is unfortunately one of the downsides of doing stuff like this. I don't believe in it. That's why I leave defects in it. And it's everything I make is different than the original. For instance, very obvious, this is bendy, this is not. So that's that. Let's go to the outro. Well, all in all, I think it worked out just fine. I got the mold that I needed. We did have that little bit of leakage problem, but like I said, that can be easily fixed if you take your time and, you know, seal everything with the hot glue. That's a mistake I made. Luckily, we were able to save it. This mold will work fine. I won't have to repair it. And, you know, it's printing out good, or it's not printing, it's casting out good pieces. And I can run another, I don't know, another 100 of them out of that mold. That's about what I got out of the first one, I think. I don't have an exact count. But anyway, I hope that helps you guys, and I don't have much else to say. Yeah, make sure you wear gloves. Once again, I forgot to wear gloves when I was going like this with the resin. Yeah, you can see my hand right here. It turned a little red, and it's irritated. I do that all the time. If you want to know about mica powder, I think I did a video earlier on my channel using some colors in mica powder. We did some experiments. Look that up if you're interested. If there's another question, hey, leave it in the comments. Maybe I'll do a video about it. Anyway, thanks for checking it out, and bye.
It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.